Incoming transmission.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another transmission from the Outpost Nerd. I'm the nerd of the Outpost. I'm glad y'all are here. Hey, Shelly, what's up? T3, how's it going? Hope you're having a good night. So what's been going on, everybody? Me, I'm just enjoying a nice long weekend, day off tomorrow. Gonna enjoy it. Welcome to another night of RPG Nightmares, Tales from the Gaming Table. You know, I got some good ones tonight, I think. Got a greedy DM, someone with sign up remorse, and a player who just can't take it. Suzanne, welcome. Hope everything's going okay. Hope you're safe. Everybody, Suzanne said that the fires are near her up in Canada, so let's all keep her in our thoughts, y'all. So tonight, let's get on into it. Tonight, my first story is kind of I think I would say a new problem in Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RPG gaming. So we got, let's see, let me bring it up. This one's called The World's Greediest DM. A little longer one, but let's get into it. See, it starts off a few years ago when I was in high school. God, I wish it was just a few years ago that I was in high school. Getting old, y'all. About to have my 20th reunion in 2-3 years. I got really into D&D lore along with a friend of mine. We wanted to play a game, but we didn't really have anyone to DM for us, and we thought that maybe a professional might be the best option to help us really learn what the game was about, so we hired a DM. A lot of people are hiring DMs nowadays because a lot of people are hiring DM nowadays because a lot of people would rather be players than DMs. I think we've all heard the term forever DM, the one person usually in the friend group or the gaming group that gets stuck as the dungeon master. And sometimes people don't even want to do that. Okay, continue with the story. Now I have to say that I have no problem with paid DMs, obviously. They provide a professional service for fun when they wouldn't otherwise, and we were more than happy to pay them for that. This goes beyond that, as you will see. Yeah, I'm okay with professional DMs, but from this story, this professional DM really started to abuse it. Our campaign is set in the Forgotten Realms, but the campaign is homebrewed. Yeah, I've had that kind of thing where it's kind of a pseudo module where you change it enough to make it your own. We generally went through the first month or two with just fine with no issues. Our characters, there were 5 of us at the table plus the DM. A decent. Now 5 is really the perfect amount of players in a group. 6, 7, 8 or more, you're starting to get really convoluted, and it's really going to take too much effort usually, and it's harder to shine a spotlight every once in a while when a character's story calls for that. Where was I? Our characters began to buy more equipment and actively search for magic items to strengthen our character. It was kind of necessary as the campaign was brutal. Excuse me. First red flag was when we talked to this NPC about a quest for his bone bow, magic item in the Underdark. But he would only tell us the location if we paid him. We assumed that he meant in-game gold and asked how much gold. Then the bomb drops. The DM character says, "Oh no, your gold is no good here. I require something a little more green." Oh, God. Yes, he was really that cringe about it. He wanted $10 for an in-game magic item. This is insane to me. We have a lot of video games nowadays have what are called microtransactions when you pay real world money for in-game items, loot boxes in Overwatch or games like that from these big that's how a lot of these gaming companies make their money now, with in-game transactions. And this guy wanted in-game transactions for Dungeons and Dragons. That is absolutely insane to me. We all figured out what he was talking about and just looked at him like, what the hell? He tried to trick us into thinking this was normal for paid games since we were all new players, but back then we were suspicious. But we didn't really have a frame of reference and we liked the game, so we stupidly decided to simply reject the quest and move on. Yeah, that is insane. The microtransactions would get worse. A couple of weeks after that, I remember that we were leveling up after defeating a mini boss. Our wizard was leveling up. He'd waited late to choose his subclass for roleplay purposes, but he was now level 5 and decided to go with chronography. That's the magic that has to deal with time. Chrono. DM tells the wizard, "Nice choice. You'll go far with that. And it'll be only $20. Oh my God, this is just getting more insane. $20 to pick your freaking subclass? Come on." At the point, the wizard started calling him out in real life. They should have the first time. Jeez. He said the DM was ripping them off, and the DM said that it was an elite subclass, and it is kind of OP. I hate when people say, "Oh, something's OP." No, if you play it right, or if you play it a right way, nothing is OP. If the DM balances it with the game, nothing's really OP, in my opinion. He also said that it was basically the price of one extra session. He then tried to make the wizard feel like he was greedy and petty for not paying for one measly extra session. Wizard then straight up called him a greedy bastard and left the table. Yeah, and I think that's being nice to the DM. We didn't. Man, we were idiots back then. We really thought that this was our only chance of playing D&D and that we could avoid these ridiculous microtransactions. Well, we were wrong. Over the next couple of months, DM gradually added more and more microtransactions to the game, usually in the form of prestigious gear and weapons sold at vendors. We still had not actually bought anything, which seemed to make the DM angry. It gradually got worse to the point that we were legitimately underprepared if we didn't buy anything. That is utterly insane to me. I remember talking to the party in a secret group chat. The DM hated the idea of us talking behind his back. Okay, that is ridiculous. The players need to be able to talk away from the DM so they can strategize, so they can figure out what they want to do next. And debated whether or not to cave to his financial demands or just leave the game. We ended up once again compromising and decided to keep playing without buying anything. We would struggle and potentially die a few times, but we thought we could at least finish the campaign. Call it a sunk cost fallacy, if you will. That brings us to one of the most important quests of the game. The DM hyped it up like it was nobody's business. We were going to the corrupted Feywild to find out the secret of this noble house that would help us learn the weaknesses of the BBEG and either save or conquer the world. We got to the mission, and the quest giver tells us that we need several type of gas masks to survive the Feywild due to the toxic air from the evil corruption. The gear would cost us $50. Not gold, not $50 each. Real world money, y'all. That is so. This DM needs to be fucking blacklisted. There was no other way to reach the Feywild as we had tried in passing throughout the campaign. The DM was effectively charging us to play the main story that he was already charging us for. That, oh my god. I don't know how I grew up here that day, but every single one of us looked at the DM with disgust, got up and walked out. Oh god, this DM is pathetic. The DM then tried to beg us to come back. He tried to tell us bullshit about how we can technically progress through the story without it. Then he tried to offer us discounts until he realized we weren't coming back and decided to unleash a volley of insults at us. That is ridiculous. I understand that sometimes a DM needs to be compensated. Either, in money or maybe in treats. Like, if you ever find yourself at a game, don't hesitate to bring your DM like snacks or stuff like that. Don't little offerings, if you will. But for this guy to charge them one for the game to play to DM in general, that's fine. But then when you get microtransactions and you can't finish it without these in-game items that you will have to pay me for. What in the hell is that DM thinking? No, I understand that maybe if the cost, like maybe $20 ends up not being enough, maybe sit down with the party and say, hey, can we think about maybe talking about my prices to DM the game? Maybe y'all could help with the material, maybe pitch in a few dollars to help pay for the material, but not to flat out charge people for in-game items like that. That's why that's one of the problems that people have with these video games. Like I said earlier, with Blizzard and Ashita and all these big, huge, giant video game companies that the games at first are reasonably priced, but it's play to win. That's what it is. It's play to win. You have games out there that are free to play, but not free to win. That's the big thing with a lot of games nowadays. You can play for free. You can just go download it, boom, 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 it's on your play. But then they start charging you in game. Okay, to beat this quest or to get access to this quest, you got to pay this amount of money. This is exactly what that DM did. That is the most stupid, arrogant, greedy DM I have ever read about, and that makes me mad that someone would ruin someone who wants to have a good time just because they're greedy like that. This is not what those guys signed up for. Those guys signed up to finally be able to play. And it goes into my next story, and it talks about just that. This one is called "This Isn't What I Signed Up For." Okay. Oh wow, that blows my mind. Okay, we're going to start the next story. I need to get away from that one. Old story, but it somewhat soured me playing with this DM again. I'm very new to tabletop RPGs. I played some games that use their systems, but never really sat down to play with people, DMs, etc. So my first experience was with a good friend of mine who I love to death. Well, I don't know how he DM. I don't like how he DMs. That's perfectly fine. Sometimes people run into um, DMs that their style doesn't mesh with them. That's okay. We'll move on to see what really happened. To start, he wanted a giant homebrew world, telling myself and the group, 5 players in total, that he was using Dark Souls and Darkest Dungeon and references and used that as a tone setter for the campaign at large. Awesome, I thought to myself. I love those settings and I can't wait to get started. 2 years go by. Okay. The campaign finally starts. We all have our characters and head into the first dungeon infested with a snake worshipping cult. Okay, stop right there. Cult members, it doesn't say, I don't see where it says what levels they started off. If they're level 1 or 2s or maybe even 3s, that's a big hurdle for low level players. A few hurdles of learning roles and some rough combat encounters, and we learn the BBEG, an ancient powerful wizard whose corpse has been split an infinite amount of times across the world. Even something as little as a finger can give him the most normal, even the most normal person extraordinary power. Their church wants to collect it for safety. Sure, I see what the demon is putting down into the world scenario that we, the players, will unknowingly cause. I'm excited to see how this goes. This conversation was immediately led by a character who talked in an exaggerated southern accent with a magical shopping mall named Whamlart. I was confused. Very confused. Yeah, Suzanne, you need to be safe. Keep in touch. Let us know if you're safe or not. Things like that kept occurring. Very cool story moment, followed by cartoonish antics that made me feel whiplash every session. The last time we played before taking an infinite hiatus, we were given a quest to find another corpse part. Rumors gathered around a forest far to the north of strange things happening. Spooky forest, love it. When we met a giant rodent who was a powerful guardian of nature, it's just unfortunate that the only thing he could say was mustard due to a curse put on him. We eventually found out that to lift the curse we needed... Oh my god, dude. They needed ketchup. The ketchup was being guarded by 4 chickens in a cart. The enemies, like usual, didn't feel balanced to our level or to our classes, but that was fine. After a 4-hour combat session, we were tired, frustrated, and just wanted this quest over. Inside the cart was a pair of pants we haven't played since. Oh, good lord. Now this DM, not greedy. I just don't think he knew what he wanted in what kind of game he wanted to play. Now, I understand. I understand, the cartoonish fun games. Those are awesome to play. And I also love the post-apocalyptic, into the world scenario kind of thing. But sometimes you don't want to mix the genres. Some genres don't mix, and it sounded like this DM didn't know what kind of game he wanted to run. And I think I'm throwing too many comedic moments like this guy was saying really hindered the game. I like the idea of that wizard, his parts like uh, granting power to whoever carries them. I think that's a good idea. But when you have something like Lamlart, or giant rat who can only say mustard, and to cure him you need ketchup, that sounds like a kind of game you play for like you'd run for like 9 or 10 year olds. That was ridiculous. Hey Jessica, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Hope you had a good weekend. Gonna have a good Labor Day. We're just talking about some crazy, crazy DMs so far that really they really ruin the games for the people. I knew I had a lurker somewhere, Daisy girl. What's up? What's up? Glad you're here. It's you need to sit. Okay, a DM needs to sit down with their player in a session zero. When you're a session zero is when it's before you actually play. Your DM learn. You show your DMs your characters as players. Your DM kind of gives you a rough outline of the world of where you'll be starting, and maybe even run a quest or two to maybe get you up to a level 2 so you just start. This DM sounded like he was just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what stuck, and I think it really hurt the game, and I don't blame those players for quitting. Hopefully, since the DM was a buddy of the rioters, that they talked this out, because like anything like that can be fixed with a little bit of communications. And in all my stories, I think that's a writing thing, is a lack of communications between the players and the DMs, and even your fellow players. It's I don't think that the DM understood what he was doing, and not understanding how the game is, how storytelling is, really fits into our next story, which I think talks about a really good lost opportunity for a game. This one is called Player Quits Because Her Character's Boyfriend Gets Kidnapped. Starting this one. I joined a cyberpunk RED game, having just played 2077 and wanting more. Great game, great setting, love it. This is a nice kind of step away from Dungeons and Dragons, and I love cyberpunk setting, so I think I'm gonna like this one. It says, okay, I joined with a nomad. Although my character is mostly irrelevant here, think of a dude with a Mad Max car. He goes by Quint. Great reference, great kind of basis for a character like that. Other players are a rocker boy or a rocker girl flavored as aspiring pop idol called Jennifer from here, a netrunner, a brain computer user interface called Cole, and a solo who's quite standard merc known as Matthias. I like that. Now, from the first session, it becomes quite evident that the rest of us are really into the story the DM is trying to tell in the sandbox she built for us. Oh, it's a she. It's a DM. I don't think these other stories that I read had a female DM. That's pretty cool. Except for Jennifer's player, who wants to play a dating sim. Whenever the rest of us are trying to work on the assignment of the week, Jennifer is trying to hit a bar and seduce some NPC or PC. She's not creepy about it or anything, but she's clearly doing something totally disconnected most of the time. Well, the dean has a talk with her about it. She says she understands the concern, but makes a point that she really enjoys romances, Since nobody had any lines or fails on session 0, she figured it'd be okay. That does not matter. Session 0, you can't think of everything about that happened. You need, just because it wasn't a topic of concern in session 0 doesn't mean it's going to be okay in game. And also that finding love is a big goal for the Jennifer character, but she apologizes for side railing the story, and overall the conversation is quite constructive. That's good. Things improve from here. It's without issues for like a dozen sessions. There's some romance for Jennifer here and there, but it's not disruptive anymore. That's good. You're able to take her storyline and her goals as the DM and integrate them into the story. That's a good thing. Our plot leads us to join a raid against a Araska facility. Very dangerous, but things had gone badly and we were out of options. Before the raid, Jennifer and Cole end up together in character, not out of character. I'm stupid. Sorry. Against all odds, the raid goes super well. Matthias got shot a ton, but managed to roll low damages. That's good. Cole takes the entire facility systems, including a dozen turrets, and fights whole platoons by himself or by proxy. Quint's car blows up, but he manages to steal a better one, and Jennifer managed to save a bunch of children Araska was experimenting on. All thanks to great rolls from us and some good decisions. It's great. I love it. Like the A-team used to say, I love it when a plan comes together. All is well, and our characters are no longer at acute risk of being organ harvested for our debts. Oh, that's a good Repo Man reference. Until the DM describes some goons from Kanto, another mega corporation, jumping on Cole when he's going to fetch fast food for the rest of the crew. Despite fighting quite randomly for a computer nerd, our poor netrunner gets thrown into the back of this supposedly Kang Tao van and disappears. By the speed at which Cole player had a backup character at hand, and the calmness he took his character's sudden demise, that was probably something the DM gave him a heads up to Cole players ahead of time. Okay, that's interesting. Guys, I hate this time of year. My allergies always flare up. People cutting grass, leaves changing. Oh, I hate it. Driving to work, driving to work last week, and every road I go had a tractor cutting the side of the roads, and had my windows down because it was so hot. Oh, I hate it. My allergies have been flaring up. Okay, here's where we get into the problems, it seems. However, Jennifer's play was almost livid, accusing the GM of going out of her way to smite her plot lines and all the ways she was enjoying the game, and that this turn of events makes absolutely zero sense, inhumorous, since we did not attack Kang Tao, and hence they should have no reason to go after Cole. At this point, I don't even know if this was actually them, because I think that Kang Tao wouldn't kidnap a person using a van with her own logo on it. The GM just says something like, "It's a dangerous world," and Jennifer leaves the call and the server, and we're all just confused and scattered. This was such a missed opportunity for the players in general. I think the GM was trying to create a new storyline. They just had finished their main plot line. They just beat their main bad guys. Why would they? This would be a good little storyline leading into another big baddie. It reminds me, like, in campaign 2. I keep going to Critical Role, but I absolutely love it, and it's one of the cornerstones of tabletop gaming nowadays. Two of the players, Laura and Travis, are married, and when they were having their first baby, they had to be out for months, like 2 or 3 months at least. One to deliver the baby, and 2 to be at home and doing the parent thing. They had to put the game on the back burner. And another player, Ashley Johnson, if you ever saw Blind Spot, her character on Blind Spot was what was her name? Uh, Patterson. If you ever saw the show, she was the lab tech. Great show. Couldn't remember the name, but she would have to be gone at sporadic moments during the first two campaigns due to filming Blind Spot. So Matt Mercer, the DM, what he did with the characters, he had them captured and taken away as slavers, so it would be an in-game reason that the players couldn't be at the table. And during that time, he had other players come in, guest stars come in and play their characters, but it allowed for a new storyline to be played out. I think that's what this player, the Jennifer player, really missed out on. It could have gone so many great ways, and it's such a better story arc than the my parents are dead, let me go on adventures kind of story arc that seemed like almost every player had. I always tried to stay away from that trope. I always try to have players like maybe be adopted and just going off to find their own, or given a reason. I had a character who was a dwarf sorcerer, draconic bloodline sorcerer, and his story was that centuries before his ancestor saved a dragon, and the dragon, as a reward, said, when your clan most needs it, my power will manifest. And it manifested in my character. It was a great little thing. His family was still, but he had to leave to find out what is happening. Why do I have these powers now? Not that, the bad guy killed my dad, and I'm going to go chase after the bad guy. That kind of thing. And it really bums me out that this player could not let the DM have enough control to let the story play out. And I think that that was unfair to the other players who now are not going to be able to see that relationship between her character and Cole grow more and be able to experience that, to see that, to play that kind of because some players like romance in tabletop gaming, some players don't. I'm kind of ambiguous to it. But to have that storyline, those moments stolen because you didn't like what the DM was doing. You're not privy. Jennifer was not privy to what the DM's plans were. If she could have just waited it out, she might have had some of the best moments. Moments that you'll be talking about 10, 15 years from now. And you can say, hey, remember that game when I did this? That's the great thing about D&D. You can create these moments. I will never forget one of the coolest, funniest moments I ever had playing at a gaming table. We were fighting this giant sandworm, and we had a Warforged barbarian who had a item called an instant tower, where he could toss this little tower figurine, and it would turn into like a 2-3 story tower that we could live in. And he got into a habit of throwing it at bad guys and crushing them. And it really annoyed our game master. Our game master, like I said before, was this kid, young kid, late teens, early 20s, I don't remember. What I ended up getting an item called a bag of beans, which is basically kind of Jack and the Beanstalk inspired bag of magical beans that you'd roll a D100, and when you threw one, and it would show what effect that the bean would have. I remember we're fighting the sandworm on this island, and I'm thinking I'm playing I'm playing Dothak, my drunken monk, Goliath, and I throw one and I roll, and it's a mummy's. It lands on Mummy Lord's pyramid, and the pyramid pops up, crushing the sandworm. So we go in and explore this magic pyramid that just popped up, and we find the Mummy Lord, and we kill it easily. And our DM, young DM, he had a problem saying no, and it caused some issues later on, which ended my time right now. Ended the time I had it later on, but before everything went to hell in a handbasket, we were just having fun. We go in, defeat the Mummy Lord easily, and he rolls for loot, looks at me, and just puts his hand in his face, shaking his head, and looks at me and says, "You are such a lucky son of a bitch." What he ended up giving me, now, monks are pretty powerful characters to begin with. They're my absolute favorite class. But he ended up giving me this, which made my character, for lack of a better word, pretty overpowered. One of the best items in the game, in my opinion. This is called a luck blade. I'll read you the description. You gain a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls you make with this magic weapon. While the sword is on you, you also gain a +1 bonus to saving throws. Now, this luck is one of the best feats in the game. It's the rogue's bread and butter, in my opinion. If the sword is on your person, now it doesn't say if you have it drawn, it says on your person. You can call on its luck, no action required, to reroll one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw you dislike. You must use the second roll. This property can't be used again until the next dawn. That's basically a free redo every day. But this right here is what makes the luck blade so overpowered. You get wishes on this sword, and he rolled a D4, 1d4, and rolled a 4 for my wishes. So I got 3 wishes on this blade. The sword has 1d4 -1 charges for the wish spell. While holding it, you can use an action to expend 1 charge and cast the wish spell from it. I always think, Shelly, who's it going to be? Who's going to make the dirty jokes? And it never fails to be you. And I love you for it. You never disappoint me. I love you for it, Shelly. This property cannot be used again until the next dawn. The sword loses this property if it has no charges. Now, The wish spell is the most powerful spell in D&D. It's a 9th level spell, and it says wish is the mightiest spell a mortal can cast. 9th level spells are it's like the god tier spells almost. By simply speaking aloud, you can alter the very foundations of reality in accord with your desires. The basic use of the spell is to duplicate any other spell of the 8th level or lower. You don't need to meet any requirements in that spell, including costly components. The spell simply takes effect. And let's see. Let's go to the spell and read the rest of it. Alternatively, you can create one of the following effects of your choice. You can create one object of up to 25,000 gold pieces in value that isn't a magic item. This item can be no more than 300 feet in any dimension. It appears in an unoccupied space you can see on the ground. Also, you can allow up to 20 creatures that you can see to gain all hit points and end all effects on them described in the Greater Restoration spell. Greater Restoration is one of the top tier healing spells of D&D. You grant up to 10 creatures you see the resistance to damage type you choose. You grant up to 10 creatures you can see immunity to a single spell or magic effect for 8 hours. For instance, you could make yourself and all your companions immune to a lich's life drain attack. You undo a single recent event by forcing a reroll of any roll made within the last round, including your last turn. This is the thing I love about this spell. Reality reshapes itself to accommodate the new result. For example, a wish spell could undo an opponent's successful save, a foe's critical hit, or a friend's failed save. You can force the reroll to be made with advantage or disadvantage, and you can choose whether to use the reroll or the original dice. You might be able to achieve something beyond the scope of the above examples. State your wish to the GM as precisely as possible. And this is the kind of genie aspect of it. Genies were mischievous creatures that if you wish, say, I rubbed a lamp, like in Robin Williams' genie pops out and says, I want $1 million. Poof, you have $1 million. Where did that money come from? Well, it robbed Fort Knox and put the money in your backyard. And, you're in trouble. You just got, you're being accused of robbing Fort Knox. They would twist the ideas. The GM has great latitude in ruling what occurs in such an instance. The greater the wish, the greater the likelihood that something goes wrong. And that's the key issue. That's what I was just talking about. The spell might simply fail. The effect you desire might only be partially achieved, or you might suffer some unforeseen consequences as a result of how you worded the wish. Once again, like I said, specificity. This is where like the lawyerness in Dungeons and Dragons needs to come to fruition when you're using the wish spell. For example, wishing that a villain was dead might propel you forward in time to a period that the villain is no longer alive, effectively removing you from the game. Similarly, wishing for a legendary magic item or artifact might instantly trance you to the presence of the item's current owner. Wow. The stress of casting the spell to produce any effect other than duplicating another spell weakens you. After doing that stress, each time you cast a spell until you finish a long rest, you take 1d10 necrotic damage per level of that spell. This damage can't be reduced or prevented in any way. In addition, your strength drops to 3. Wow. Yeah. Shelly, you're in Jersey. You're already there. You're there. You're in Jersey. For 2, your strength drops to 3 if it isn't 3 or lower already for 2d4 days. For each of those days you spend resting and doing nothing more than light activity, your remaining recovery time decreases 2 days. Finally, there is a 33% chance that you are unable to cast a wish ever again if you suffer this stress. So there's downsides to this. This spell can either take the game in interesting directions or even completely destroy it. Like when I had the ability to cast Wish, I personally never did because I was enjoying the game, and two, I knew. Yeah, I love you too. Yeah, I will, Shelly. After I'm done here, I'm gonna go get some drink and refill my drinks, and I'll join you. I didn't want to disrupt the game too much because I really enjoyed it, but I knew, and I think the DM knew, I had the power. Yeah, I mean, I have the power. He-Man kind of thing. And I wish, if I knew how it was going to end, I wish I would have used spell. Wish. It would have been awesome. But young DM didn't want to mess with his mind or any more than I had been. But that's a moment that that's a moment that I'll always remember. Something crazy giving way to something amazing, something game changing like this. Okay, Shelly, I'll see you in a few. And it made the game so much fun. And I think if Jennifer would have taken the time to think about it, to think past her own story and see how her story and everyone else's melded together, it really would have been an amazing time for her, and I think for the rest of the players and the DM. So, just my advice for Jennifer would have been just hold on a sec, think this through. So, and that's the thing. Be careful when you get too into these things. Think them through. Think of what you're doing and the consequences that's going to have. D&D is a game of tabletop RPGs in general. Well, RPGs in general are games of consequences. Your actions will determine what happens next, what you can do, what NPCs think of you and give you access to. So, and that's one thing that I love about. That's the thing I love about tabletop RPGs. You can play them over and over and over again and have never had the same experience due to the choices you make. And that's why they're pretty much my passion that I love to nerd out about. So I hope everyone has a good evening, a great week, And as I sign off every time, well, first off, leave a like, subscribe, and share my channel. Every little click counts. Help me get up my goal before the end of the year is to get up to 150 subscribers. Help me do that. Show me some love and share. So, like I always sign off with, find your passion and nerd out about it. I'm the Outpost Nerd, and I'm gone.